doctor was treating a patient for melancholic insomnia. He had tried everything, but the patient continued sleepless and pessimistic. Finally, he decided on a new remedy. "Get some good old Barbados rum," he directed. "Cover a lump of sugar in the bottom of a large glass. Fill with hot water and drink slowly. Repeat this every hour." "But doctor," asked the patient, "will that put me to sleep?" "No," said the doctor, "but it will make you not mind staying awake." "Are you medical or surgical?" asked one small boy of another in the hospital ward. "I don't know," replied the youngster. The questioner was scornful, having seen a patient in the hospital for some months. Condescendingly, he undertook to make his meaning plainer for the sake of the lower intelligence of his less quick-witted companion. "Were you sick when you came in, or did they make you sick after you got here?" he inquired. A man had an attack of pneumonia, and the doctor was called in. After the examination, the doctor said, You a musician?" "I think you are." Doctor was confused. Doctor said, "You are a musician, I think, and play a wind instrument." "Yes, that explains everything. There's a distinct straining of the lungs, and the larynx is inflamed as though by some abnormal pressure." "What instrument do you play?" "The accordion." "Doctor, look here. Don't you know my office hours are from 8 to 10 in the evening?" Patient: "Yes, I do, but the dog that bit me didn't." The secretary, a conscientious girl, was puzzled by an entry in the doctor's notes on an emergency case. "Shot in the lumbar region," it read. After a moment, she brightened and, in the interest of clarity, typed into the record, "Shot in the wood." "Well," breathed the young medic as he joined a colleague in the hospital cafeteria, "I certainly performed that last operation in the nick of time. Another few hours, and the patient would have recovered without it." The lecturer at a medical college was exhibiting a diagram and said, "The subject here limps because one leg is shorter than the other." Then he addressed his audience. "Now, Mr. Smith, what would you do in such a case?" Young Smith pondered deeply before answering, "I imagine I should limp too, sir." Doctor, I'm sorry to tell you that your wife's mind is completely gone." Husband: "Well, I'm not surprised. She's been giving me a piece of it for 20 years. Doctor: "Well, you'll get along all right. Your leg is swollen, but I wouldn't worry about it." Patient: "No, and if your leg was swollen, I wouldn't worry about it either. Doctor: "Your husband must have absolute rest and quiet. Here are some sleeping tablets." Patient's wife: "When must I give them to him?" Doctor: "They're for you." The impatient old duffer finally got tired of sitting in the reception room waiting for his turn to see the doctor. "I guess I'll go home," he said, "and die a natural death." certain stomach specialist in one of our big cities has a formula for patients with nervous indigestion. He asks them, "Do you play golf?" If they say, "Yes," he tells them to cut it out. If they say no, he tells them to start playing. A hairy business executive went to his physician to get a prescription for sleeping pills, only to find that he was allergic to sedatives. What about some of this twilight sleep I've read about?" he asked the doctor. "Oh, that's only for labor," was the reply. "Good heavens!" exclaimed the executive. "Haven't you anything for management?" Patient: "Doctor, is it true that sleeping outdoors will cure insomnia?" Doctor: "Perfectly true. But sleeping indoors will do the same." "Doc," he said, "if there's anything wrong with me, don't give me a long scientific name. Say it so I can understand it." "Very well," the doctor agreed. "You're lazy." "Thanks, Doc. Now give me the scientific name so I can tell my boss." Excited wife: "Doctor, do hurry. My husband is at death's door." Cooperative doctor: "Don't worry, lady. I'll pull him through." Patient: "Doctor, isn't it somewhat out of your way to visit me here?" Doctor: "Not too bad. I have another patient nearby, and in that way I can kill two birds with one stone." After the physician checked the patient over, he asked, "Have you been living a normal life?" "Yes, doctor." "Well, you're going to have to cut it out for a while." Explorer, just back from Africa: "I brought back 6 tigers, 2 leopards, and a potfur." Friend: "What's a potfur?" Explorer: "To cook the meat in." The owner of a movie house had just taken out a fire insurance policy. As he signed his name to the application blank, he turned to the insurance agent and asked, "Now, if my theater was to burn down tomorrow, what would I get?" "About 2 years, I imagine," the agent replied. Crossing the street one morning, I was nearly run down by an antiquated car, literally overflowing with about a dozen children. Since the red light had been against the woman driver, as she came to a halt, I shouted, "Lady, don't you know when to stop?" Glancing back at the Moppets, she answered icily, "They aren't all mine." Customer: "Give me a pound of those grapes. My husband is fond of them. Do you know if they have been sprayed with any kind of poison?" Grocery clerk: "No, ma'am. You'll have to get that at the drugstore." A producer asked a star who had just read his new film script, "How would you like to play the role?" Replied the star, "Under an assumed name." If you had your life to live over, the prominent octogenarian was asked, do you think you'd make the same mistakes again? "Certainly," said the old man, "but I'd start sooner." The young scientist was the inventor of a rocket projectile. He took it to the testing ground out in the desert. It was set up, touched off, and flew straight up for 100 miles. When it reached the peak of its flight, a camera photographed the entire Earth. A few days later, Someone asked how the picture had come out. "Not so good," was his reply. "Somebody moved." Doctors are wonderful. Mine certainly put me on my feet. The bill was so large I had to sell my car. A man was consulting a psychiatrist. Among other questions, the doctor asked, "Are you troubled by improper thoughts?" "Why, no," answered the patient. "To tell the truth, doctor, I really enjoy them."
And now, the final Radiation Day 28 reading from Braude's Handbook of Humor for All Occasions by Claude Braude, circa 1958. Patient: "How can I ever repay your kindness to me?" Doctor: "By check, money order, or cash." Thus concludes the Radiation Day reading series. All 4 of my cancers are gone now.